I worked with a company one time, it was almost 100 million in revenue at that point. They sold for $1 billion last year. All he did was basically get the team to finally agree on what problem are they trying to solve. And then he just talked about how his company could solve it for him. And they won the bid. Marketing scares people to death, mainly because they just don't know what they should be doing. They see what other people are doing that they think are successful and think, well, I got to go do that. I got to be on this channel. I got to be pointing at text boxes while I'm dancing on TikTok. May as well go get the inflatable things that car dealerships have and put them outside my office. They're basically lighting money on fire. And they're wondering, why am I not getting more meetings? Why am I not getting more prospects? It's not driving sales. There's 3 reasons why that's true. 1, they haven't actually clarified what audience they're trying to reach. 2, they haven't clarified what problems they solve for people who are most likely to become clients. If it solves a problem, you can go make money off that. And 3, they don't have a really clear, simple plan they can follow every day for a year that alleviates their headache and ultimately drives more prospects who become clients. How many times on Shark Tank have we seen the sharks go, yeah. What problem does this solve for people? I'm not exactly sure why this exists.
This episode is sponsored in part by the Massimo Group. Are you a commercial real estate broker looking to boost your business? The Massimo Group is the world's premier coaching organization, transforming the careers of brokers just like you, just like it did for me. Visit www.massimo-group.com today to get started and take your career to the next level. This episode is also brought to you by Site to Do Business, commercial real estate's most advanced toolkit, providing commercial real estate professionals like me with premier data, mapping, and marketing tools to win business and revolutionize decision-making. Visit stdb.com to learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Commercially Speaking. My name is Timmy Barron, ADHD.
And I'm Bo Barron, CCIM.
And this is the podcast where Bo teaches me everything about commercial real estate, investing, commercial real estate, everything, and more.
Today, we have with us Wes Gay. There's not an industry I can think of unless you just don't want people to know about you and you don't want to sell things that couldn't use Wes in some way.
Yeah.
And like even, I mentioned we used him at the Massimo Group first, then we used him at church, and then we used him at Barron Commercial Group here.
Yeah.
He's now working with us at Hearthstone Capital. Wes is our go-to guy. And if you're not a listener to our podcast and you don't live in our town and you're not in commercial real estate, you have no clue who I am. But like Wes works with some people you have heard of. And the more I hear about who some of these others that he actually works with, I'm like, and he takes my calls. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But if you're listening to this podcast and you have a small business or a large business, or you want to clarify your messaging and grow, like Wes is a great option for you to consider.
Most companies, y'all know this, are really bad at talking about themselves in the way that their customers are, to make their customers care. And so what I do is I'll come in and help them get really clear in their messaging. How are we going to talk about ourselves? Who are we actually trying to talk to? That's a big thing that I clarify for a lot of folks. And then it turns into all the stuff, marketing and sales collateral, websites, helping rewrite proposals, sales sequences, email campaigns, marketing strategy, sales strategy. It's all based off this book, shameless plug here, called Building a StoryBrand, by a guy named Donna Miller. Sold a little more than 1 million copies so far. And throughout the course of this conversation, I will talk about that a lot, and will probably ruin movies for you. One of the things I found about commercial real estate, I've probably worked in 60 plus industries at this point, serving probably 115, 120 different audiences in that space. Everybody wants to think they're special. Commercial real estate's no exception there. The reality is commercial real estate brokers have the same problem so many other businesses have, where their expertise should be at like a level 9 or 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Their audience doesn't really care until it's a level 1 or 2. How do we only talk about the real things that matter and the things that actually motivate people to do business with us? Top Gun Maverick, in the first few minutes of that movie, we understand it's really just about Tom Cruise trying to prove he's still an asset to the modern Navy. Mm-hmm. That's it. That whole movie's about that. But if it was about that and him trying to plan his parents' 50th wedding anniversary and train for the CrossFit Games and build his following on Twitter and propose to Penny and adopt a cat and win open mic night, you're going to go, I don't know what this movie's about. And guess what? Even if they put IMAX cameras in F-18, I don't care anymore because I'm so confused. The irony is the more focused and specific you get, the more you narrow in, the more it's going to actually open you up to the right people. I worked with a broker one time. He was doing about $1.5 million a year. He knew exactly who his target was. It was in a specific region, privately held industrial. That's it. He didn't drift out of that. He had for 15 years been really disciplined in that space. At some point, you got to speak to what does your audience care about every day? That's what great brands do. That's what successful brokers do. And if you wake up thinking about that, you're going to kind of forget about everything else and get really focused on what your audience wants.
Right. So if I'm coming to you and I am a broker, a commercial real estate broker, and I've not done much marketing, and say I am that one that's I post to flex. Essentially, everything I'm posting is to look at me, look how good I'm doing, look at this. People don't really care about that. Walk me through what we're doing here. What questions do I need to ask specifically for this?
We want to figure out, it's a process I use called the ideal client story. So I'd want to reverse engineer and say, think about the last 2 years to, again, pick your time horizon. All the clients or deals you've done. Who are the kinds of people that were easiest to sell to? They were the ones that maybe were profitable for you. They were easy to work with. They loved working with you. They became repeat customers or raving fans or referral sources, like those people. And we want to basically build out, like Bo said, what's the problem that you solved for them? What was the process like? How did they find you? What triggered them to ready to make a decision? All that stuff. Put it together and say, okay, now we understand at the end of the day who we want to become clients. So then we got to back up and say, from our marketing, what do we need to be doing and where do we need to be in order to show up and attract those people? I was with a B2B manufacturing company last year, and they were on track to do $17 million in sales that year. And they sent me a 25-page marketing document, single space, which is about 24 pages too much. And 3 pages were single-spaced descriptions of their audience. And I thought, again, this is about 2.5 pages too long. So we get there and I'm doing the same process. I think in the last 12 to 24 months, the VP of sales is in the room. He's been in that company 20 years. So he's an expert in the audience. And so I'm asking questions. Who typically calls? Who are you on calls with for this product? The key products you sell. And he basically, in a few minutes, we realized it's 3 big groups of people. And he listed who they were. I said, okay. I said, just gut reaction. I said, which of those 3 people probably represents the majority of your phone calls? And he said, oh, without a doubt, that one. Okay. What is it about that audience you think makes them call you? And he said, well, it's this, 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 and this. And I was like, oh, okay. So pause. Your product solves all of the things that audience said. It doesn't solve everything for over here. They only need 1 or 2 problems solved. This audience over here only needs 1 or 2 problems solved. The people in the middle that literally represented 80% of their customer base are the ones who are going to buy the most often, see the most value, and or say yes the fastest. And I said, crazy idea. What if we just focus on that audience? And the CMO sitting to my left, and he said, we can make $17 million just selling our key product line to that one audience and forget everything else. And I said, why don't we just go do that? Yeah. $17 million sounds fun. Like, let's just go, or 20.
Right.
I think it happens is we try to go too broad and too vague and say, no. You don't need 500 deals a year. Right. You just reverse engineer the math and say, what is it this audience wants and how can we speak to that? And so for your marketing, it becomes, what problems are we solving for people? The problem piece is the biggest part because people pay attention when there's tension. And so if we can think about the obstacles that are in the path of our audience buying or selling or leasing, whatever we're doing in commercial real estate, what is it that our audiences wake up that's getting in the way of what their ultimate goals are? And how can we answer those questions, solve those problems, remove those obstacles and get in their way, whether it's taxes or some kind of tax issue, zoning issue, environmental. I mean, Bo, all the stuff that you ought to be an expert in, right? What are the problems that your audience is having as it relates to that?
Here's an example right now. We've got a large company that wants to buy some land and develop their new warehouse, but they're also wanting to branch out and build more and become landlords. They want the wealth of the company to be beyond just their core operations, and they want to start investing and developing in commercial real estate. And so we found them a nice piece of land, and there's an issue with a road going through. Like if you develop something, like it's the developer's cost to do that. And so one of the things we're solving so that this deal can move forward and our clients can actualize what they're trying to do is we got to solve this issue with the road. And
I want to call out like what Bo's talking about here, but I've yet to meet anybody in residential or commercial real estate who says, hey, the people I serve, the only thing they're doing, they want to buy, sell, lease, or build just because it sounds fun. There's always a reason behind, you know what I mean? Like nobody wakes up and goes, no developer wakes up and goes, man, it sounds so fun to build something from scratch. It does not. And that's also not what they want. There's an end goal in mind. So in this case, kind of from marketing language, if you're wanting to work with developers who are wanting to build companies that are wanting to develop because they're wanting to have more wealth tied up into the real estate side of the business, then what I'm saying, what do you want? Well, A company wants to build wealth within the business with their real estate focus or something like that. But the problem is it's a really complex series of things that they don't have expertise in because they've never done this before, haven't done it very often. And there's so many landmines and roadblocks along the way. So now all of a sudden I go from that and saying, hey, I help you buy, build, or buy, sell, lease, or build. It's like, that's not really compelling because that's not what they actually want.
You were talking about Maverick and Top Gun. He's the hero of that story. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was down in Nashville way back when, one of the big takeaways for me was the idea that as the broker in this scenario, I'm not the hero. The customer is actually the hero.
Yeah.
And and this is a mistake I think it's very clear that most people make, is they try to be the hero in their customer's story in competition with their customer.
Oh, wow.
They're both trying to play the hero.
Yeah.
And it just, man, it doesn't land.
It doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work. And so, Wes, take us through a better way.
Have you ever noticed in all the superhero movies, just about every single time when there's more than one superhero, where does the bulk of the conflict of the film actually exist?
The villain.
No, within the group of the heroes.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like that first Avengers movie?
Yeah. The first Avengers, the Avengers, Civil War, Ultron, like all those.
Yeah.
Anytime you have multiple heroes in a story, it just doesn't work. The paradigm shift for most brands that I work with is they got to get out of trying to be the main character in the story and instead say, we are landing in the story that our audience is already living day to day.
So good.
And we're the guide. We are the Yoda. We're the Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're the Haymitch in Hunger Games. We are Iceman in Top Gun Maverick. We are Rafiki in The Lion King, Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins.
Ice Cube in 22 Jump Street.
Ice Cube in 22 Jump Street. There's always these characters that come along, Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid. I mean, there are books that are written on how screenwriters write films, and this is a key part of it. And it's this mentor figure, this guide figure that comes along and says there's two key things they tell them. One, I understand you. I have empathy for your situation, what you're going through, what you're dealing with. Two, I also have the authority to help you. Where I think commercial real estate brokers go wrong is they lean too heavy into just their authority. And so the way they talk about themselves makes them come across as the hero of the story. In reality, it's here's why I'm the authority, the expert in this particular kind of real estate or the transaction or whatever, so that you can get what you're after, right? That's the shift, is you've got to take yourself out of that driver's seat of the hero and say, no, you are the hero in whatever you're trying to do is in your business and with your company, with your real estate deals. What I do is I come along and I help you get across the line because I understand the challenges you have. I understand the frustrations you have. And here's why I'm the right solution to help you get to where you're going. And that's the big shift to make. So
now we've reframed it. The customer's the hero.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what?
Yeah. So the customer's the hero. So then when it comes to your marketing, you want to think about how do I demonstrate my authority by showing them, here's how I can solve your problem. When I was worked with another commercial real estate broker once, and we got kind of to the weeds of his marketing plan. What are we going to do to consistently show up in front of his audience? This guy had been doing it pretty successfully for a while. So he had really focused on developing his list. He had a really strong database of contacts in the area. And so one of the things we said was, how do we consistently show up with more than just quarterly market reports? Are those interesting? Sure. Is that all somebody needs to know to trust you? No, because their broker generates those anyway, and they get those from probably 5 different brokerages in their town. Right. And so we said was, okay, if we just focus on print mail, how do we show our authority? Well, we want to show a few things. One way to show authority is case studies. I said, okay, what if let's pick 4 deals you've done in the last 12 months. And I said, let's turn each one of those into a simple postcard, 6x9, pick the dimensions. And on the full print side, we'll have a picture, we'll have a summary of the deal, the details, maybe a testimonial quote from that owner about the deal. On the back side where the address is, you have a couple of lines that highlights the pain point you solved in that deal, and then a link to, and then a QR code, a phone number, whatever. And then obviously the address. I do that 4 times a year. Now all of a sudden, once a quarter, they're maybe getting the quarterly market updates in the mail, but they're also getting my authority in terms of how I've done this for other people, right? Yeah. So that's, now I've already got 8 pieces of mail I can guarantee in a year that doesn't take me very long to make because it's like template anyway. And then I can show another way to demonstrate authority is pick what is maybe the most confusing thing about my particular type of transaction or area that I focus on in commercial real estate. I worked with a guy in California, which translates to they have confusing things everywhere because it's California.
Yep.
There was one thing in particular, it was a recent tax change that was impacting a pretty sizable segment of his audience. And I said, and he explained it to me because he'd obviously studied it, because he had to understand it for these transactions because of how they had to handle them. I jokingly said, do you work with tax professionals as clients? He said, no. I said, great. They don't understand it. They've seen the headlines. They've caught snippets here and there, but they're not full-time focusing on this particular issue that literally could cost them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And I said, what if once a quarter, so 4 times a year, we talked about that particular tax change in 4 different ways? In a postcard, even in a letter, if we wanted to just write a letter. Now all of a sudden I've got 12 pieces of mail. What I've done 12 times a year, shown up in somebody's physical mailbox and demonstrate that I'm the guide by showing you, here's how I've solved this problem for other people like you. Yeah. Let me help you understand this problem, and let me show you how to solve it. And let me, schedule a call and we'll talk through it so you can better understand it yourself, as opposed to saying, like you said, Bo, real estate in general, residential and commercial, seems to attract a lot of people who love their faces on the billboards and the banners on the left field wall of the high school baseball team. But last I checked, banners and billboards don't make money. I'm going to hire somebody I trust. And the way we build trust is by showing up every day saying, here's how I can solve your problems.
Well, what all encompasses marketing? It's a lot.
And that's part of the challenge of today's world, because I think people get overwhelmed by all the things they think they should be doing in marketing.
Right. You
have to go back into what I said earlier, which is, who is your target audience? And the next question you ask is, where are they showing up? I was with a company just this week as we record this in Kansas City, and we did worked through their messaging before lunch. After lunch, we start figuring out, okay, marketing strategy, where do we focus? Because again, there's a million things you could do in marketing. And we literally said, where do we show up? And so we picked like 3 channels. It was like podcasts. We had a couple of places we knew we could find other, like they're going to do an influencer campaign because it's a B2C product. And then I think the third one was their own social media content. And so that's it. We're not doing all this other stuff because it just doesn't make sense. You got to think about, where is my audience most likely to show up, and double down there. Usually that answer is just 2 or 3 channels.
So let's see where we think it is for commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Right, one is, he mentioned direct mail. And that works in commercial real estate. Just as an example, I got a letter a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a general prospecting letter. Basically what it said was, got a client, we did a couple deals last year. He's got an appetite for more. The deals were just like the property that you own. But the unique thing that this young broker did was he put the picture of my property as the header of the letter.
Yeah.
I called him.
Yeah.
We're potentially working through a deal on that property.
Yeah, he played to your ego.
Well, whatever he did, he didn't act like he was the hero.
Right.
And he just said, look, if you've got this problem and that you're wanting to sell this, like, I've got a guy. He's got a track record. I've done some deals with him. Like, those are authority things. For me as a seller, I want to know that somebody can actually close.
Yeah.
And I don't think this kid actually knew that he was doing any of this. But now we're talking potentially about this piece of property. But direct mail works. So that's one thing.
Okay.
Email works to some extent, especially if they've initiated the process. So if, like any of these landing pages that get you into a funnel, or somebody lands on your website and they want to sign up for something or just be put on the mailing list, like, email seems to work. And then there's the social media, like online stuff, whether it be, podcasts on one side, or, we've talked about this. Commercial real estate seems to be very active on X and LinkedIn.
Right.
Every commercial real estate broker who's any good, they always say, like, how do you double down on print mail? You want to think about, you can't just hammer over somebody's head, hire me. That's never going to work.
As a commercial real estate broker, your success depends on the right strategies and guidance. The Massimo Group, the world's top coaching organization for brokers, can help you scale your business and increase your income. And as a former client, I've personally experienced how their coaching can transform not only your career, but also your life. Don't wait to grow. Head to www.massimo-group.com today and see how their proven systems can work for you. This episode is also brought to you by Site to Do Business, the ultimate commercial real estate estate data analysis and mapping tool. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, Site to Do Business provides the data and insights you need to make informed decisions and close deals faster. Frankly, it's the tool that I use the most in my business. Access comprehensive market analysis, demographic data, and powerful mapping tools like ArcGIS, Placer AI, and Flood Maps all in one place. Identify the best locations for your clients, analyze market trends, and present your findings with confidence. Don't miss out on this game-changing platform. Visit stdb.com today and see how it can optimize your business. And now back to the show.
Commercial real estate, to me, falls under the broader category of expertise businesses. In other words, people are essentially hiring you for your head. You basically want to say, how can I consistently demonstrate my expertise? I think some people in marketing, and brokers are probably no exception to this, they feel a little like the ShamWow guy, where they're just yelling at me to buy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. How do I show up? So I would start with mail. I would start with snail mail for sure. The next thing I'd move into is email marketing. You could create 26 emails, so one every other week, pretty quickly. You take your same case studies that you already did in the mail. So that's 4. Your 4 pieces of content, 4 postcards about maybe a specific issue. Let's say tax or environmental or some hot button topic for your audience is confusing. Now I've got 8 emails. I could probably rework all 8 of those, and now I have 16 emails because I could do 2 for each one in different ways.
Yeah, and then you could just think about the themes of the year. So like when commercial real estate owners get into the first part of the year, like January, February, like all of a sudden they're thinking about taxes.
I would ask my accountant, I'd ask my tax strategist, hey, what are 5 things that people need to know about commercial real estate in terms of the tax code right now? I'd get them to give me those answers. I'd write it in an email. I'd send it to that list every April or every January. Like I'd do those 2 things first, print, mail, and email. And then from there, you kind of figure out what works for your audience. I think in some cases you could probably do webinars that are just super high quality, high value 2-3 times a year that are just really educational. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's a change you need to know about. Social media could work, whether it's, again, I think so much of X seems to be other brokers talking to other brokers.
Right.
Maybe LinkedIn, because you can get more targeted in who you're searching for. Mm-hmm. But I'd say let's fix mail and email first, and then we can go do all the fun stuff.
Yeah,
you can become an Instagram influencer.
Yeah, because a broker, their client are commercial real estate owners.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Duh.
Or users of space.
Users of space. Yep. So, that's across the gamut. That could be anybody.
Yeah.
Is there like a particular avatar for a commercial real estate?
There's not an avatar for the person who owns commercial real estate. That can be so broad. The question is, who's the person you're going to serve well?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And try to attract and become their person.
So if I'm a broker, I would gear what I'm putting out there. I see a property in a strip mall. If I want to go after that, I'm still trying to understand how it works, what brokers do.
Welcome to season 2, everybody.
This is season 2. What do brokers do?
Timmy has not learned it all yet.
Here's what I would say to that. It's a joke. You literally grew up in it, and you talk about it on this podcast, and you're still not quite sure. Are we sure that our audience has any idea what brokers actually do?
That's a great question.
And I know they don't.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when they calculate our fee, they do not understand our value.
I know what you do when it comes to underwriting. I know what you do when you've got the client, right? But when it comes to prospecting, I've heard you talk a few times of looking at properties and, trying to figure out the rents.
Yeah, but that's me as an investor. If I'm prospecting as a broker and I'm looking for new business, I'm trying to find somebody that will hire me to solve their problems.
Yeah.
The reality is people transact real estate for only 2 reasons. They have a problem or they see an opportunity.
Yeah.
So when I'm prospecting, I'm trying to figure out what's their problem or their opportunity.
Yeah.
You do that by asking great questions. And once you know that, then I can share with them how I can get them to where they want to be. And as long as I demonstrate enough authority and I layer on empathy, like, look, we've done this before. I get where you're at.
Yeah.
I've been there myself as a property owner. Like, I get it. Then you put yourself in the role of the guide.
Sure.
Allow them to be the hero, and then you can kind of call them like, this is how I can help you get to where you want to be.
Right. Which is why I like doing a podcast, or like what Justin Ryder is doing. He's putting out really good content.
And he's getting business from it.
He's getting business from it. And of course, with the podcast, or doing something along those lines, where if you're going to do social media and put content out there, it's content that is showing your authority, but not to be like, look how smart I am. It's it's a humble authority because you are just giving away your knowledge for free, essentially.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you are establishing authority and the more you will be top of mind when certain opportunities come along.
And you can bake a ton of empathy into that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So much.
While you're demonstrating your expertise.
Yeah, like if I was going to become a commercial real estate broker myself, I would probably get really focused on getting people on a weekly or twice a month newsletter. And I would just say, listen, I'm going to explain real estate and we're going to talk about the taxes, environmental, the zoning changes of our area. I live in Gwinnett County, Georgia, one of the 100 largest counties in the country. We have a little over 1 million people, I think. And it feels like we have another 500,000 people moving in within 2 miles of my house. It's getting out of hand. Yeah. I think modern marketing so much, the fundamental piece is how can I be an expert who explains stuff to people in a way they understand?
Right.
If I pull back from commercial real estate for a minute, one area that's done this really well in the last 3 to 4 years is sports media. Look how sports media has gone from the 4 talking heads yelling at each other to former athletes doing detailed breakdowns of plays. Now you got Tom Brady on Fox, like they can break all Bill Belichick. I mean, Peyton and Eli Manning. You get all these guys who are deep experts at something and people can't get enough of that kind of content, just explaining things.
Right.
So if I'm dealing with, let's say, industrial, then I'm going to figure out, okay, in Gwinnett County, Georgia, if I'm going to focus on industrial in this county, maybe the county next door, what do people need to know? What problems do they have? What are they concerned about? What's new? What are they uncertain about? What's changing? I mean, all this, what's changing between the state and the governor's office or here locally or whatever. People think marketing is all about the big, flashy, sexy stuff, the campaigns, the social media videos and the content, all that. It's really about showing up consistently. How do I show up as somebody who can solve your problem and show you a path forward? What we didn't get into very much is on the story side. We talked about this idea of a guide. It's it's the role we play, the Yoda, the Obi-Wan. But what a guide does is they also give you a plan. So 1, 2, 3. Here's what it looks like. I mean, if I had $1 for every time in a movie somebody said, so here's the plan. Yeah. How many times have you seen a movie where somebody come in and moves everything off the table, rolls out an app and says, here's the plan. We got to tell people, here's what you do. Here's how it works to work with me. Yeah. Home Alone, all of them. And then we move into what do we want people to do? Like what's the next step they need them to take? And then the way we wrap the story up is what we call success or failure. So we want to give a foreshadowing of if we solve their problems, like the example Bo mentioned earlier of this company that's wanting to not only they want to buy property so they can build, but also so they can start leasing space because they want to build more value on the business. But then on the flip side, let's talk about failure a little bit. What happens if somebody's problems don't get solved? What are they going to lose? What are they going to miss out on? And sometimes we got to lean into that failure, like to paint the stakes, because in movies, the bigger the stakes, the more compelling the story is. Right. And so that's what makes us pay attention. So how do we paint those stakes of what happens if they don't solve their problems? And we could also talk about that in our marketing.
If marketing is an extension of sales, and commercial real estate tends to be pretty good at sales and pretty terrible at marketing, what do you think, Wes, we might be able to do about that?
That's a great question, Bo. I think what we should do is I think we should start a marketing mastery cohort group for commercial real estate brokers. Oh. Because you know this as well as anybody in the commercial real estate space, marketing scares people to death, mainly because they just don't know what they should be doing. Right. They see what they think they see what other people are doing that they think are successful and think, well, I got to go do that. I got to be on this channel. I got to be pointing at text boxes while I'm dancing on TikTok. I've got to have, may as well go get the inflatable things that car dealerships have and put them outside my office, whatever. And they're basically lighting money on fire. And they're wondering, why am I not getting more meetings? Why am I not getting more prospects? It's not driving sales. It just seems like a distraction. And there's 3 reasons why that's true. 1, they haven't actually clarified what audience are they trying to reach. 2, they haven't clarified what problems they solve for people who are most likely to become clients. And 3, they don't have a really clear, simple plan they can follow every day for a year that's going to become a marketing that alleviates their headache and ultimately drives more prospects who become clients.
So what if there were something that a commercial real estate practitioner could join that would guide them through all those landmines, help them not light all that money on fire, and actually create something that's effective, that puts them in the role of the guide instead of the hero, talks directly to who they want their core customer to be, and starts to generate leads because they're demonstrating empathy and demonstrating their authority, customized to you and mostly done for you.
That sounds like a fantastic solution to a big problem.
Well, see, that's what we think.
I agree. So there's a group for that. And what we're launching soon, and you can go to wesgay.com/CS because that's easier to spell on your phone or wherever you're listening than commercially speaking. wesgay.com/CS. And what you can do is join the waitlist for our new marketing master group. And what we're going to do is we will guide you through all of the key decisions you need to make in a clear, simple way. So help you get really clear on defining who your audience is,
So good.
really clear on clarifying your problems, and then create a marketing plan that is not overwhelming. It's simple and gives you the templates and tools you need to go get it done pretty easily.
Love it. Love it.
So, and if anybody goes to wesgay.com/CS, you'll join the waitlist for when we get ready to launch. You'll be the first ones to know. You'll also get a free guide that I've created called the 7 Components of a Strong Broker Brand. What are the 7 things that you as a commercial real estate broker need to be doing and saying that help create you as a strong brand out in the marketplace so that you don't have to watch your competitors beat you?
Yeah.
Way to be ready.
I come prepared. So what Bo and I are going to do is I'm going to take you, I've worked with hundreds of brands, a bunch of folks in and around commercial real estate, also in residential real estate. I've learned things on both of those that what the best people do well. There are plenty of people I've run across and worked with who are doing by themselves or with a team of 1 or 2, 3 people. They're clearing 7 figures a year. They're not trying to be the coolest person on X or Twitter. They're not trying to be Instagram famous. They're just trying to figure out what do I need to say and where do I need to say it so that more of my ideal clients start showing up.
Yeah.
And it clears the path so that I can go convert those prospects into clients and make money.
And then solve their problems.
That's right.
Exactly.
Solve the problem. If there was anything I'd have to add to any of this to help all these that are sitting there with these problems are like, I don't know what to do. You know, I see Bo over here. He's got a podcast and putting out content and everything. I should be doing that. It seems to be going well for him. I've done social media for over a decade now. When it comes to that area, putting out content, you do not have to do it.
There's a guy that Bo and I both know who's very successful in his particular niche. He uses email. I think he may text and phone call. I don't think he's ever even tried to create a social media account in his life. And he's one of the top brokers in a very competitive area.
Yeah.
And he's figured out what works for him.
Yeah.
He found that great overlap. And I'm glad you called this out to me. I think sometimes in marketing, we think, oh, we have to do all these things. This is what other people are doing. The great thing is, again, you don't need 500 deals a year. So what are the 5, 8, 10, 15 deals you need to go get in the next 12 months? And then what makes sense for what you feel like you're really good at? Maybe you're good on camera. Maybe you're good at naturally doing short form videos. Maybe you feel more comfortable writing.
Yeah.
Maybe you feel more comfortable doing events somehow. I mean, you just got to figure out the best channels for what works for you to go out and really push your marketing.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to do a podcast, go out and do it. If you don't want to do a podcast, don't
do it.
Don't do it. Don't
This is America,
do it.
dang it. You don't have to do it if you don't want to.
You don't have to. You don't have to. Sounds like wesgay.com/CS will help you figure out what it is that you want to do and can do and solve it to solve the problems for for the potential clients.
For the people doing the things. Yeah, that's what you meant. That's what you're trying to say.
Nicely done.
For the people doing the things. That's right. That's right. Well, Wes, I know you just sent us to wesgay.com/CS, but over and above that, where can people find you?
Twitter/X. I'm at Wes Gay, LinkedIn, whatever that URL is, .com/whatever/Wes Gay.
Wes Gay,
Facebook, yep. Wes Gay, Instagram, Wes Gay. You could also probably find me in a donut or coffee shop when I'm traveling and doing on-site sessions with clients.
And Wes, before we let you go, what problem do you think pickleball solved?
I think pickleball in some ways has become what bowling leagues were 30 years ago.
It's community.
It's a community play. Yeah. It used to be you had work that was not at your house. So you had work, you had home, and then you had these third places. It's what Starbucks was originally premised to be. And then you had like the local, little leagues before they got crazy in youth sports. Yeah. It's a community thing. That's what it is. Same reason breweries have taken off. It's community.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. Yeah.
And then what? 12 months from now, we'll let Wes know why you asked that question.
Yeah, I've come up with a new sport.
Tennis plus frisbee equals Disney. All this, no balls.
The secret game of champions. Disney.com.
I would say your best bet is probably to start test it if you're not testing it yet.
Yeah.
find some youth pastors and say, hey, can I test this with your youth group? And let a bunch of high schoolers do it.
There's a history there. I'm not allowed to ask that anymore. Totally kidding. I'd 100% do that.
I would
That's
love
great.
to know the new sport that's coming out of Kentucky.
It's fun. I've played.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Well, Wes Gay, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this has been absolute pleasure.
I was afraid I was going to have to do the 5 questions or whatever y'all have done before.
Oh, the quiz.
Oh, do you want to?
We can do a quiz.
We can do a quiz.
You ready for a pop quiz?
Yeah.
All right, pop quiz. All right, Wes, this is how this goes down. We're going to ask Timmy 5 questions. You are our guest today, so you get to ask the first question, the third question, and the 5th question. You can ask him a question about anything. It can be what we've covered here today or something completely unrelated. Some people just like to play Stump Timmy. It's been progressively harder and harder to do, but we'll alternate back and forth. And question 1 is yours.
All right, Timmy, you said that you are you have some experience with marketing.
Yes.
When you watch other people talk about marketing, what is the advice that makes you want to throw your computer out the window in anger?
Oh my God, that's a great question.
That is a good question. I'm really interested in the answer here.
When there is a video that you see and they're going to tell you some piece of information and 15 minutes later it never comes and you have to sign up for something, that pisses me off. Because I watch, I've gotten, I'm privy to it now, so I can tell really rather quickly, oh, they're never going to say the answer. They just want me to click or sign up for whatever to get it. But they just drag you along. Or it's a webinar you go into and they make it seem like it's live, but it's not live. But they're like answering questions like they're real questions coming in. Yep.
There are whole strategies and scripts around how to do just that, how to talk for an hour and never actually say anything.
That's right. That's right. Stop doing it, people.
All right. Question 2. Wes shared with us 2 main things that you need to step into the role of the guide.
Yeah.
What would those 2 things be?
Authority.
Yes.
Expertise, knowledge.
That's really kind of all in the authority bucket.
Yeah, authority and good question. And you got to lead them. Authority and
that's what you're calling them to. But just to step into that role, you need to demonstrate 2 things.
Help them understand the most confusing thing. What's all? Oh man, what does it start with?
E.
Authority and equality.
E-M.
And immaculate conception.
That's I-M, but okay.
Well, what impact?
Empathy.
Empathy. Empathy.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, question 3. Wes, what do you got?
There's obviously a lot of things you can do in marketing. And I mentioned it and Bo said it too. There's one particular marketing tactic that still works really well in commercial real estate. And I said it's the first thing you should really tackle. What is that?
Email. Oh, no, snail mail.
Yes.
Yeah, snail mail and email.
Very good. All right, question 4. Normal commercial real estate marketing generally puts the broker in conflict with the prospect. Why?
Because the broker is trying to be the hero.
Just like
their client should be the hero.
Yep. That is exactly right.
Whoa.
Very well.
Good questions.
All right. Last question. I think you're 3 for 4 so far. Wes, question 5.
Let's go way off the rails here.
All right.
What's the worst gift you've ever received?
I know it. I know it right away.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Did I give it to you?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, really?
This is the thing that I think about of like worst gifts. Yeah.
And it was from me?
It's from you.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm turning 8. I'm a boy in Kentucky, and I'm turning 8. You're 18, so you must have been living at the house. You get me a puzzle. Do you remember this?
Not at all.
You bought me a puzzle. That's great. I open it up. and it's a Little Mermaid puzzle for a little 8-year-old boy from a very, very, masculine-driven family.
I loved that movie.
Hey,
Loved
it's a good
it.
movie.
Could quote the whole thing. Used to do impersonations of Sebastian the Clam.
Do it. He's a crab.
Crab.
Yeah, crabs.
You love that.
He loved it so much.
Under the sea.
Somebody's got to nail that girl's fins to the floor.
That's so good. Yeah. That's really good.
I love it. So maybe I gave you the gift that I wished that I would have received.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. And I took it as this movie is for girls. And my oldest brother just gave me a girl movie puzzle. And I'm 8.
He must hate me.
I didn't mean to.
What does he
There's
think
a
of me?
wound here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Anyway.
Wes.
Yeah. What's
And
yours?
today's sponsor is BetterHelp for the therapy you need after.
Oh, the trauma.
BetterHelp.com/puzzle. for discount code. Yeah.
Ariel.
Now you got to do a whole podcast, Bo, as Sebastian.
Yeah.
I think is what the people want.
I don't. I don't know.
That's why it's hotter under the water. Under the sea. Under the sea. That's Shaggy now.
Yeah. So Wes, what was yours?
I was 12,
Man,
and
these are going
I got coloring books about horses and plastic horses from my aunt, but I didn't. This is going to sound weird. I didn't realize until after she passed away she was never actually my aunt. Because she and my uncle never actually got married. I didn't know that until I was an adult. It's one of those situations. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably that one.
What's up with all the horses?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got the horses in the back. I'm gonna
Horses
kick off Old
in
Town
the
Road.
bag. But you need beer. I'm gonna
It's
take
always
my
something.
hotel road. Yeah, you like Elton John? Whoa.
So that was
Cause I can't no more.
it sounds like 2/3 of this podcast panel is ADHD.
Yeah,
So
it does.
That doesn't help.
What about you, Bo? I know you've been thinking about it.
I can think of some of the good ones, but I don't really have a memory of the worst one I ever received.
I can't believe that popped in my head so quickly.
Sorry about that.
Well, if y'all want to find out when Bo finally thinks of it, we'll put it in the weekly newsletter. That's right. Every Thursday, we send out a newsletter with curated articles on negotiations, business, entrepreneurship, commercial real estate, of course, and you'll see our latest podcast episode. Do not forget to go to wesgay.com/CS if you need some help and the solution to all your marketing problems for commercial real estate and its brokerage. Like, subscribe, ding that little bell. Bo, how can they sign up for our newsletter?
Yeah, you go to
Subscribe.wgbaron.com. You can follow us on all social media at Commercially Speaking. The only place it's different is on X, which is ComSpeakPod. Big shout out to Wes Gay.
Yeah, man.
Wes, thanks for being here.
Great to have
Thanks
you.
for
man.
having me. Thanks for having me.
Huh?
All right.
We'll talk soon, my friend.
Yep.
Sounds good.
We'll see y'all later. Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Bye,
Bye,
Alice.
Bye.
All right. Later, taters.